Why am I in the picture? We're gonna move me out of here.
Get a little bit of shine there on Gord too.
I know, that's why I. You gotta care.
Next time
I
I'll
can
just
say
go
that
back.
because
Yeah, they make it. Okay, we're on. Okay, so it is Thursday, October 20th, 2022, Woodlands County Governance and Priorities Committee meeting. Call the meeting to order. We got a quorum, and we'll begin with an adoption of the agenda. Anyone, any additions or to the agenda from admin?
No, your worship.
Anything from council? Okay, Councillor Williams.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. That brings us to minutes. Item 3.1. Anyone see anything in the 15 September 2022 minutes? Any deletions, errors, omissions? Got our attendance rate this time? 1, 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll move that the governance and priorities minutes of 15th of September 2022 be accepted as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Colkin. Any discussion on that? All in favor? All right, that is carried. Will bring us to item 6.1. This is the Community Services Committee Terms of Reference. So Joan, you're going to take us through this.
You bet. Good evening, your worship and council. So we have in front of us a portion of bylaw 537, which is the committee bylaw, and just looking for discussion around the amendment to the terms of reference for the Community Services Committee. Essentially, the Community Services Committee had made a suggestion of adding 2 youth members to the board, as well as when we looked at consideration of the amendment, we thought we may as well bring into play too that policy 6902, the corporate sponsorship policy, had just been adopted by council in September, which would change the terms of, or scope of work, sorry, for the committee itself. So just wanting to add in that under the scope of work, indicating that the committee will look at sponsorship requests that come specifically to that board, and can make a recommendation for approval of them. Administration, however, is, as far as the youth members, we're recommending that perhaps we start with 1 youth member. That does impact the budget for the Community Services Board, and that we're having additional honorarium that we would be paying out for each member. So that takes us over that 1% increase that council had talked about, as well as we are aware that the last youth member that we had was about 2018, and it was difficult to try and obtain someone, a young member, to come and sit with the board. And I think some of the reasons for that is that maybe a little daunting for them, or intimidating, they're sitting with a group of adults versus a group of their peers. So maybe not feeling comfortable with sitting with that committee, but certainly we're not in opposition that to have, a young member, as long as there's some mentorship and some guidance if they do sit on that board. Because I know for an adult to decipher some of the agenda items and things that we look at can be pretty daunting, let alone, a young person trying to comprehend what it is that we're doing.
Okay, Councillor Prestige.
through the chair, we had a young lad that was Dallin, his son, and he was good. He missed a lot of meetings, and then he didn't want to do it again, and we advertised and we just couldn't get anybody to sign up. So it's nice to have him here. Like, said, I think it's hard for them to relate to what we do.
Okay. Anyone else? Counselor Coker?
Yeah, just through the chair. So what this is, there's four members at large, community members at large, of which one would be a youth member. Is that how it's proposed?
How it's being proposed is that the board will remain as is. What was requested is that we would have 2 additional youth members
Okay.
added to the board. What we're suggesting is perhaps starting at 1, see if we can attract someone. My understanding is that one of the members at large does have someone that's somewhat interested in the position. And again, maybe seeing how it works out with that individual, if they do such apply.
Counselor Williams?
Just had a question, like, that where it says in the definitions, a youth member between the ages of 16 and 25 and attending high school or post-secondary institution. Is that like the target, or are we looking for someone under 18 in that each category?
Through the chair to Councillor Williams, what we thought was that, you know, if you get someone that's a little on the older side, so 16 and up, would probably be a more suitable target, may have a better understanding, or if there's someone that's taking post-secondary that's still in the community, maybe doing it remotely, someone that's a little older and again may have better understanding, so we thought, you know, either a high school student or someone in that post-secondary.
So if I can just follow up, so somebody could fill that role and be over 18 as long as they kind of fall into that category. So
A student.
So potentially, like if a younger person didn't work out, someone still attending post-secondary could still fill that gap, and maybe not maturity level higher, but someone that would understand these things a little bit better, I
Yeah,
guess.
right.
So I'm gonna just ask a question. So the recommendation is to keep 4 members at large plus 1 youth member, correct?
Correct.
And
And then changing the scope of work, just adding in essentially a bullet point to deal with corporate sponsorship requests.
okay. Yeah, and I think it's important that we get young people involved in the community and everything. I really do. And we've got to try and attract this next generation, I guess, to these types of roles. I just don't want to hamstring the committee, I guess, by not getting enough members if we end up doing it that way. So I'm good with trying it this way for the beginning bit.
That was a good trial.
Yeah. Councillor Prestidge.
Through the chair to Joan. What if we can't attract anybody?
Through the chair to Councillor Prestidge, the position just remains open until such time as we maybe do attract somebody.
Okay. Anyone have any questions on the corporate sponsorship changes in the other part there? Straightforward?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that the Governance and Priorities Committee direct administration to forward an amended bylaw to council, including revisions to the community services committee terms of reference.
Okay, very good. Motion's accepted. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. That will bring us to a draft policy, that'll bring us to, draft policy 6211, low-income benefits program. Joan. Oh, and we have Councillor Dave Cush joining us now, so we'll just make sure that's reflected in the minutes.
7:13.
7:13? Yep.
Okay, so this one is essentially a brand new policy. It had originally been brought forward to the Governance and Priorities Committee as a seniors tax rebate. Further investigation and discussion at the Community Services Committee level, as well as administratively, we kind of re-reviewed what around the whole idea of the seniors wallet, or the seniors policy, tax rebate policy. So currently, we have only found one other additional policy that is reflective of seniors. So with the seniors tax rebate, there's also the seniors transportation grant under policy 5102 that the county has. And under that policy, we give approximately $300 per year per person for them to go to medical appointments and things like that. Included in the policy also is for seniors, 65 years of age, 3 snowplow flags, which valued is about $150 per year. So then on September 8th, I understand, and I wasn't in attendance at this meeting, but I did review it, that there was discussion around the seniors wallet or the spending account, whatever we wanted to call it, would include the above, that transportation grant, the snowplow flags, and the seniors rebate. And I know that there had been quite a bit of discussion around maybe making the program meaningful. In other words, being, and keeping in mind to be financially responsible around it as well. So administration took those things into consideration, and we developed this policy called Low Income Benefits Program. And essentially what it entails is, rather than just your seniors per se, it would look at low-income families, seniors, and people with disabilities. So it would be all-encompassing versus just on your 65 years and older. And it would be income-based. Whereas currently the transportation grant and the snowplow flags, it's you turn 65, you can come into the office and provide your receipts and be cut a check for $300. And same with your snowplow flags, you can come up and get your 3 flags per year. After that 3 flags, then you have to pay for them. So we did essentially revise the draft seniors tax rebate policy to include essentially the three items. So low income tax rebate, transportation grant, and then the 3 snowplow flags per year. And it would be based on income level, which is essentially they would have to provide us their T4, T5 from when they get their income tax completed. And there is a threshold that the Stats Canada actually provides that shows what the low income levels are. It's called LICO, I believe, and that we attached kind of what the low income levels are, and it's based on kind of per province. It's a Statistics Canada thing, so it's kind of across Canada and what the low income level is. So there would be 2 things essentially that we'd need is we would any application would, and we've split it into that there'll be 3 applications, one for each program. We've valued the tax rebate at $150 flat rate. The transportation grant would remain at the $300, and then the 3 snowplow flags, of course, it has a value of about $150. So a low income family, senior, or a disabled individual would have the benefit of a maximum of about $600 per year. Currently, there's the transportation grant is about $30,000 in council's budget, and that is pretty much maxed every year. We get a lot of applicants. Of course, it is at 65 years of age and older, and Heather did have a conversation with a local group in Fort Assiniboine just recently, kind of indicating what we were looking at perhaps doing with this, just to get a feel for it, because it was about 15 individuals from the community, and they were actually quite surprised that the county was looking at something like this, and that it was a meaningful purpose. It wasn't just you turn 65 and oh yeah, I get a free flag, or I get a tax rebate or whatever. It's that we're looking at it from a perspective of someone that needs it versus someone that maybe necessarily not need it, but they're getting the benefit of it anyway. So it was interesting to see that the community was actually, or that group from the community was quite interested in it, and how we had looked at it. So if council so chooses, we could forward this to council for further discussion, as well as it would require that we would, what's the term, repeal our transportation grants policy, because it would then become included in this low income benefits program.
Okay. Councillor Williams.
Question about the funding. You said the 30,000 is pretty much used every year. Do we anticipate that going up a lot with this, or the ones that are over low income coming off and it kind of backfilling in?
We think it'll back, yeah, yes.
Yeah, it would remain similar. Obviously, this is speculation or anticipation.
Yeah. In fact, we think that it may decrease a bit, because we're not, again, it's something that, it's gonna be a trial and error to see who actually will come in and apply for it. I believe that we do have, some residents out there that, require it, and that's whether that be, a young family that's in need, your seniors maybe that, don't have the income level that they can afford to, pay their taxes and that, or are struggling to. Actually, we had a gentleman that has just moved to the county who's disabled and had called in to see what kind of programs we had. And so we thought, well, this is excellent timing, and something to add in there too. So, it'll be an unknown for a while, but we honestly think that the 30,000, given the number that applied for that, just at 65 years of age, and then if we do open it up, I think that it'll balance itself out. Because you get a lot of the seniors that, well, I'm 65, I'm gonna go for that benefit. They know it's there, so they're gonna grab it. But if we change it and dial it back to where it's a low income, I think it'll equal itself out.
Councillor Kush.
Just for clarification, and so people will say seniors 65 and older who currently qualify, through the policy right now, would qualify for the flags unless they meet the threshold for low income, then wouldn't qualify for the flags anymore.
That's correct. So what we are thinking of doing is we'd like to actually have a year to do a campaign, get it out there, let people know. Or the other thing is we rip the Band-Aid off and we start it for 2023. But we'd almost like to do a campaign, bring it forward, this is what it's going to entail. That still allows, everybody to get an adjustment to it. Because we're fairly certain that, we'll get some heated phone calls with respect to, just changing it up and not putting it out there the direction that we've gone with it.
Just a follow-up to that, if we left, as a benefit for the seniors and stuff like that, I still would like to try to continue that even if they don't meet that threshold. But if we open it up to, say, low income and stuff, underneath, or these people who are below that threshold on the snow flags or the plow flags and stuff, what type of a cost do we think we'd end up incurring with the county? So I hate that there's some of the seniors I know that they don't meet that threshold, but they require, they utilize the flags as part of what they have, is they don't actually have actively the equipment on their property to do that.
Through the chair to Councillor Kush, we in our conversation actually with the front staff and infrastructure, we talked about that, is leaving that alone for the seniors 65 years and over, as far as the snow plow flags go. Right now, I don't know that it would make much of a difference. We give out about 130 flags, is my understanding, per year to seniors. Now, as far as the transportation grant goes, that one is maximized each year. So we know if you're 65 and it gets utilized the full 30,000. So we would definitely then have to add to the budget for 2024 if we take that year to. Or if, like you say, if you want to start it right away, we can, and then we'll have to put monies in the budget for 2023.
Just to clarify though, the transportation grant would then become needs-based, would it not, based on this?
Yes.
So it would probably, this subscription to it
Yeah.
would go down a little bit, but it would get more targeted, so. Councillor Williams.
I was just gonna echo what Councillor Kush said. I do like the idea of the snowplow flags for the seniors. Sometimes you might have enough money, but maybe you require home care. You can't get down to get the flags. That might be the problem too, right? Like it's a tough one to take away the transportation grant. That one to me makes 100% sense, because if some people are just gonna apply for it just because it's there. So I would definitely like to look at the numbers of what that is, and even if we maybe track it for a year and see how many we're actually going up and above the low income, then maybe have a comparison or what that's actually costing us then. I don't know how to do that without making all the seniors mad.
Yeah, and I think it's important to know, for people to understand that this isn't you know, to you know, try and upset anyone or anything. I mean, we basically have an opportunity here to either make a large difference to a targeted group that needs some help, or make very little difference to some people that don't so much need the help. And I like the idea of needs assessed services. So I'm just going to ask a question though, based on this low income cutoff. So 2020, is that one? So one person living alone would be 14,000. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
That's your net income?
Yep.
Or your gross income?
Well, be net.
That's better be net.
Net, yeah.
That'd be net.
Craft dinner's expensive these days. And this is the point, is the fact that everything's going up right now. The price of food and energy is going crazy. And so what do we think? Do we want to, I like the idea around this, at least coming out in some kind of a public open house or doing some kind of education campaign on this. I think we might learn something in the process of rolling this out in an informational way. I'm just wondering about delaying it for another year is all, to do that. What does council think? Councillor Kulkin.
Through the chair to the council, I guess I like the responsibility portion that this is attached to. Like, I like the way that it's set up, because we're really thinking this through. And you know, I'm of the belief as well is that if you have the ability to do something, I don't think that you should be included in the program, because you know, you should be, you know, we should send this out just as anything else, is that if we can, you know, help somebody else out, you know, that little bit that we're looking at, as far as I'm concerned, of those people that can afford the thing, I'm willing to take the flak for that.
Councillor Preston.
Through the chair, I like the low income, but on the snowplow flags, I think it should be low income and disabled, or people with disabilities. Like, I'm 65 now, and does that mean I could go get a flag when I really don't need them? And how many people do that?
and through the chair to Councillor Prestige, and in speaking to the front end staff about this and how they administer the flags and that, that was one of the things that they indicated is that they may have seniors, and we're aware of it, that have ordered the flags. At one point in time, we had actually run out, and we had to go and grab some more green to make up flags, because they were all out there, and they weren't coming back. And I know that we had approached a couple of the seniors, and oh yeah, it's in my shed, kind of thing, right? And they had then they'd bring an armful in to us, right, so that we could at least give them back out. Kept their 3, but you know, so yeah, definitely. And again, do they need it? And I think in talking with infrastructure as well is that because they've struggled with the whole snowplow flag program, it's in its entirety, and the management of it. We're thinking that we can maybe streamline seniors per se, and it does include, we do have in here that it does include disabled individuals too. So yeah, if you're a senior and you're disabled, yeah, you would qualify for that free flag.
If I may,
Yes, please.
I think that makes more sense doing that than just everybody 65 and older. Because it would be people that need it. And if they're disabled, they can somehow get the flag out.
Because we're requesting a placard, or a proof of that placard or a doctor's note. So I mean, that provides the proof. Yeah.
Yeah, again, I can see us getting some flack, but I'm hoping that people understand where we're coming from. I mean, I'm not that far away from 65 when you think about it. When I think about it.
Yeah, in 12, 13 years though, the climate change, we may not need flags.
Well, this is why I suggested that we buy that deep water port in Churchill for a bargain price of $10 million, but nobody wanted to go with it.
And the suggestion from us as well is that we look at this, run it for a couple years and see how it works out, and maybe we gotta revamp it. But I think, it's a definitely a good start.
See, I see something when you're presenting this, you actually look like you're excited to present this. I like that enthusiasm. It means that I think we're heading in the right direction. I'm a little concerned about this, those low income dollar amounts, but did you run those, so that group that you were talking to, did you run those numbers past them for the low income?
Unfortunately, no, we did not.
And the reason that I'm saying this is because, so the years we have here is 2020. When you look at the cost changes from 2020 to 2022, they're substantial. And I'm a little concerned about lagging to the point where we can't assess the need, if you know what I mean. I can't imagine owning property as a single person who's maybe lost a companion and having to maintain that on 14,000. I don't know how you could do it, but
We looked at the Alberta numbers as well. Like, this is Stats Canada, so it's kind of across the entire of Canada, but we did look at Alberta, and it's very close, like maybe $100 difference between.
okay. Councillor Prestige.
Through the chair, just looked at my mom's bank statement yesterday, just come in, and she gets her pensions, and it works out to about $30,000 a year for old age pension, and Canada pension, and supplements.
But that's a gross, so she wouldn't qualify.
No, that's net.
30,000. Yeah, so she wouldn't qualify it as
No.
living alone.
so any pensioner would qualify.
What's that?
And then no maybe some would, but rarely a pensioner could fall into this then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, your
Probably
worship.
there will be.
Members of council, I've been doing some quick research on the StatsCan website, and there are some statistics based on 2016 census data. And we could provide you with some further details in regards to percentage of low income right now. According to this statistic, total low income status in 2015 for population and private household to whom low income concepts are applicable is approximately 15% of 65 years and older. So if you take 15% of 4,700 roughly, you would get that number of how many seniors that are.
Didn't the stat say 15% of 65 or older?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we don't have 4,700 residents that are 65. So you'd have to figure out the residents that are 65, then 15% of those. Isn't that the number that you quoted?
No, it's the population
Oh, 65, 15% of the population.
that are 65%, 65 or over, right, that are low income.
Okay.
So that would be about 700 if we're looking at.
Councillor Prestige.
Through the chair. I think the 14,000 would be low income, somebody like that's on age,
Yeah.
and that would be about what they would make. But I don't know how somebody at 14,000 could live on an acreage or something and survive.
Yeah, I think we've got the program pretty right. I'm just worried about this index that we're trying to think of. So
And by all means, we could bring back, because I know we did look at the Alberta one, and it was, I want to say around the 29,000 mark. So what you're saying makes sense, right? Around the 30,000 mark. And when we did there's not too many municipalities that do the tax rebate per se, but they do it based on low income. And again, they use your T4, and it's based on those values. And I want to say it was around the $29,000 mark, and it's based on that T4 number for Alberta as what they consider low income.
okay. Yeah, Councillor Cocan.
I know that one of the things that happens in rural communities, especially on a lot of the farms, is they don't contribute a lot to the program. So what they get out of it isn't very much. And I know guys that are probably in that $1,200 a month. So that's, that hits that $14,000. So they are there, and that would be net. And if they own that property and live in burned wood, some of them guys survive for quite a while. I think it's getting less and less, but I know that in rural communities that does exist.
So here's what I'm worried about, and I haven't researched the end of this very well. But let's say we have two seniors living together. Neither of them have a pension. They're both on CPP. Does the CPP go on? Is there a survivor benefit component to CPP? There is?
Yes.
Yeah, I think there is.
Okay.
60% of the.
All right. I like it. I don't know where we are with I think the only thing that we were really having a discussion about was the snowplow thing, as to whether to keep it to the disabled end, to prove disabled, or keep it at 65. So that's one that we're gonna have to decide on. Councilor Cush?
I obviously want to keep the 65 plus, but if we can, like, I have no issues with adding it to the disabled. Or, if they need it, they need it, especially because a lot of that's for medical response in and out. They need the accessibility, if we can help provide that for the few extra flags, it's gonna be a year, I'd be okay with that.
Okay. So where do we go from here? I'd still like to see some numbers on our low income end and maybe have a conversation with some of our, seniors groups. How do we target this? What's that?
Yeah, I think there's ways of maybe asking some people just in conversation, people are comfortable with, something like that. Like I'd be willing to talk to some, there's organizations within the force that there's enough to come up in a conversation, gather some data.
Okay. I really do think we're on the right track with this though. I really do think so. Do you have a suggestion or you?
Yeah, your worship, members of council, and again, two things is, one of the things that administration, before you implement that, we have to have, we're suggesting 2024, however, even if you implement it in the fall of 2023, we need 3 to 6 months to get it out there to make people aware that there are changes to the program. So, in the meantime, before you implement it, whether you implement it in the fall of 2023 or the start of 2024, because the winter months, and I'm only thinking winter months is, you might want to go towards the fall of 2023, right? Which gives us ample time to get it out there. To go to your point, your worship, in regards to the matter of seniors, going back to the focus groups, we have a number of senior group that we can reach out to them and get their input. We'll do a little more research in regards to Stats Canada information. I know our economic development officer can pull some stats and information that would help and benefit that. And we can come and bring this back either to the Governance and Priorities Committee or to council directly.
Okay. I was just thinking that I'd like to see this talked about at council at the very least so that it gets out in the media that we're considering something like this. So it maybe gets people thinking about it and some feedback. What's council think? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Councillor Corey.
I agree, we bring it to council, we get it in the media, it's streamed, more people watch the council over GMP, my assumption anyways. And having representatives from media, the newspaper and stuff here, we can actually put that out there and kind of get the message out. I think we have something that's really good here and could benefit a lot of people, and it would be great to get a little bit of public involvement and support on the case.
Okay. So do we wanna have this come to council kind of as it is, and then just an information that you're going to seek some of that input?
Yeah,
And
well,
bring it back again, or?
yeah, so your worship, members of council, just looking at the next couple of council meetings, your proposed council meeting on November 9th, not proposed, your scheduled meeting for November 9th, you're away, sorry, November 7th, you're away at the RMA convention. So we have an RFD coming to council to cancel that meeting. The next meeting would then be November 23rd. And if we have something back to council for December meeting at the latest, would that be a reason?
Oh, for sure, yep.
Okay. Yeah, and again, we don't have to have this is a little bit fluid at this point, but I think it's important that we get this out so that people start thinking about how this can be, how do we get some input on it and generate some interest and that kind of thing. So that's what I'm hoping anyways. Okay. Counselor Kush.
As far as making a motion, we just go with the recommendation then, currently, to bring it to council for consideration for 2024. What will be the best wording for?
Yeah. Good question. So we'd be looking to get this to council in draft form, for public input.
So, yeah, and again, if you're looking for a motion, the motion would just direct administration to forward, the proposed draft policy, to council, right? Period, and, seek public, input from, I don't wanna say those affected, from, seniors. I guess you could just have open houses regardless. Yeah. From public and seek public input.
Yep, seek public input, okay. Are you,
I'll be willing to make that motion.
do you remember that motion?
Make a motion that the Governance Priorities Committee direct administration forward draft policy 6211 to our low income benefits program to council and seek public input.
So it's enough for, administration? Nancy, you got all that? Good. Okay, any discussion on the motion? I'll accept the motion on the floor. All in favor? That's everybody, so that motion is passed. Thank you very much. That'll bring us to our item 6.3, post-secondary bursary policy 6201. And Heather's not here, so I'm assuming you're gonna do this,
You
Joan.
betcha. Your worship and council, this is an update to policy 6201, which is our post-secondary bursary. Again, the Community Services Committee on September 8th discussed amending this particular policy, essentially to add, again, a component around students with disabilities. And specifically for equipment and or assistance that might be required. And it stems from Cheryl Trofimuk, sorry. She's an advocate with respect to the deaf and hearing impaired in the community, and had identified a need for students that have hearing issues, and there's specialized equipment that they may require. And in particular, when they go to secondary education, they don't necessarily have funds to be able to get some of the equipment that can assist them, and or maybe they need assistance in the classroom, whether that be a tutor or something of that nature, or an interpreter or something. So again, opening it up to just, rather than just the deaf, we're opening it up to anybody with a disability. So looking to essentially add to the budget and the policy, that inclusion. Ms. Anderson has added into the policy the highlighted section in yellow. Council's had an opportunity to review that, which just essentially adds the equipment or services for students with disabilities. And what the application will entail that we require to show proof that they do need it.
Okay.
The budget impact, find it here. So for 2023, would be an additional $6,000. So looking at essentially we're guesstimating maybe 3 students may require it. So for 2023, $6,000, because they get $2,000 for their first year. And then the second year, it would be $3,000, because they get $1,000 for their second year.
Okay, thank you. And I think this is really timely or helpful too, in the fact that we talk about, how do we keep people in our rural communities, and oftentimes things like this are just not available until you get into urbans. So it definitely helps us. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you guys off. Go ahead, Councilor Prestige.
Through the chair to Joan, I like the idea of this, but are we having to add to community service budget to this, or is there room in the budget to do it?
Through the chair to Councillor Prestige, the bursaries are actually have been undersubscribed the last few years. Just as an example, we had 4 applications in 2021 and 6 in 2022. So yeah, it's definitely an under-prescribed program. And I think, again, though, if we can do some communication of what the bursary is about. I know it's been sent over to the high schools pretty much yearly, about when our deadlines are due, but we just don't seem to get much response on it.
Councilor Williams?
Just a question with the cost of or source of funding, where it says 6,000 for 2023 and 3,000 for 2024. Would that they'd be able, like, other people may be able to apply in 2024 though, right? So it could be like $9,000 versus just the 3, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, or clarify whether this is only every 2 years you could apply, or it will slowly roll where that'll be the maximum amount.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone wish to make a recommendation? Councilor Prestige?
Through the chair to Joan, how much money do we have in the budget for this?
Through the chair to Councillor Prestige, I was looking for that today, and it looks like 30,000.
30,000?
Yeah.
Per year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And 6 are applied.
And like I say, the program has been under-prescribed, so.
So there is funding available.
Okay.
With that, I'll make the motion. Make a motion that Governance and Priorities Committee direct administration to forward revisions in policy 6201 post-secondary bursary to council for consideration.
Okay, thank you very much, Councilor Prestige. That motion's accepted. Any discussion on it? All in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. That will bring us to our next meeting date. All right. November is a mess. Councilor Cush.
Before we set a meeting date, would it maybe be okay to postpone this to our council meeting when we have our next 2 councilors and see what their schedules look like also? That's just till next week before we post it.
Actually, we could put it as an item on the agenda, could we not?
Yep.
So,
Just so we can get the other council.
so we need a motion here to just kick the meeting date and add it as a motion on the next agenda for the council meeting.
I'll make that motion to move the next meeting date for the GMP committee or set the next meeting date for our next GMP committee at our next council meeting on, what is it, October
26th.
26th, yeah.
26th?
Okay. Nancy, you got that?
Yes.
We're good? Okay. We'll accept that motion. Any discussion on it? All in favor? That is carried. That brings us to adjournment.
Yes.
Councilor Cush?
Everybody's looking at me, I'll make the motion to adjourn.
All right. Just no discussion on a motion to adjourn, all in favor? Okay, that's it, we're stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.